welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. We're going to be talking about Friday Night Dynamite, October 30th, 2024. We're actually going to start with Bobby Lashley being the newest All Elite signing. And we're going to start there after the rather good Shelton Benjamin versus Swerve Strickland match. There's nothing really negative I can say about that match. It was actually just pretty good, just a solid match. MVP made a phone call, and here comes Lashley. He comes to the ring in a burgundy suit, burgundy pleather suit, and then Shelton and MVP and Lashley commenced to kicking the ass of Swerve and Prince Nana and beating up on security guards. Now they're back in business. So, Lashley to AEW. Do I like it? For people who are kind of new to the channel, Lashley is one of my favorite wrestlers. I almost cried, man tears, when he finally won the WWE title. It was years overdue. And I really pushed for his matches with Brock because I thought he really could match up well with Brock. Those did not turn out very well. Unfortunately, the Brock Lashley matches didn't turn out very well. He never got the matches with Roman that he wanted. So, but Lashley is tremendous. You know, I'm still a big fan. I hope he only signed like a 1-year contract with AEW. The same for Shelton, the same for MVP. Because if you look at, I don't know, Claudio now, I don't want that for those guys in a year or two, you know. Once they have this big run with Swerve, I'm concerned about what happens afterwards. It's a running theme on here where I say it's good that AEW added talent X, whatever that talent was, Mercedes, CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole. It doesn't matter who it is. If you have a decent talent or even a great talent and you add them to your roster, it is almost always a positive. It is 100% in what you do with them. Now, they introduced Lashley at the top. He's facing Swerve now, which is good. It's great. So, what I'm deeply concerned about is a year from now, if Lashley is still going to be in this same position. Can he be world champion in AEW? I don't know. You know, I'm pretty sure a lot of AEW fans probably don't think so. You know, but for him to be the first guy to be WWE, AEW, and TNA world champion, that would be fantastic. That would be excellent. You know, would cement him as a legend. Is that possible in AEW? Is that his role when he's being brought into AEW? I don't see it. Lashley is the kind of guy that AEW has never used quite well. He's a gigantic mountain of muscle. And they have never used those guys well. It's always been, oh, that's the big guy that the little guy can put over. And that works when the little guy is extraordinary. Even in WWE when he had to put over guys like Finn Balor. You know, at the time I wasn't thrilled about it, especially since it was a squash match at WrestleMania, which sucked. But Finn Balor was being positioned as being sort of an extraordinary little guy. You know, same thing with like Bryan Danielson. You know, if he was to put over a guy like that, it would be like an extraordinary little guy. There aren't that many of those in AEW. And there aren't enough big guys to convincingly beat Lashley clean in the middle of the ring without me rolling my eyes. And this, of course, is going to double back to the first match on the show. And that looks like, you know, the hydrogen bomb losing to the coffin baby, which we'll talk about when we get there. But that's my concern, even more than excitement, because it's not really exciting because I knew it was happening. I mostly just say, what's going to happen in 6 months? Once he does this thing with Swerve, and eventually he's going to have to put Swerve over because that's what he's being brought in for. Unless, you know, Swerve joins and then they can have a year-long run. But I don't think that's going to happen. But after the run with Swerve is over, what's next? That's always been the issue with AEW. How long did he sign that contract for? Is it 1 year? Is it 2? Did he sign a 5? Because if it's a 5, you're talking about this guy being in 50 something near the end of the contract. That's asinine. And the age, of course, of Lashley and Shelton Benjamin is an important thing too. I clearly think they could be the tag team champions in AEW, and that would be a great role for them. So I'm trying to be realistic and temper my expectations, knowing that 1, they're older guys, 2, AEW is kind of moving in a different direction. I'm not sure what direction it is after looking at, these episodes, but they're moving in a different direction in terms of they're trying to find a new face for the company. And Lashley's not going to be that guy, especially not long term. The guy's like 48 or something like that. It's just not possible. Same thing with Shelton Benjamin. He could be a solid hand, and he's a decent name that you would bring in. They can do a lot together, the 3 of them. It could be fun. I'm going to have fun with it at the very least. I'm just concerned about the future. Lashley was kind of salty when he left WWE. He did a couple of interviews criticizing the booking, and he's pitched ideas to wrestle Gunther. He actually pitched Gunther being like Hitler, which is weird. I would imagine he pitched that idea about Gunther being the tiny little mustache man on the idea that he would beat Gunther. And that's probably why Triple H didn't go for it. He was like, no, I'm not going to let you call my guy a Nazi and then beat him, But I don't think Lashley would ever have gone for letting Gunther get over on him, in a way that made him look like Booker T. And, what was that, 2003 when that happened? So I get it. The chemistry wasn't there. I think that's what Lashley said, is that him and Triple H didn't have any chemistry. So he's in a good place. I would have loved for him to go back to TNA, but AEW's great. I think the Hurt Business could have had a bigger impact in TNA. But AEW's fine. Not gonna look a gift horse in the mouth. Just, I'm wincing at the idea of 6 months from now, what is it going to be? Now, in terms of, did his debut have an impact? Yes, I think the crowd liked it. He starts at the top because Swerve is a top guy, but we got to see how far it goes from here. Because if you look at the rest of this show, again, big guys like Lashley, man, they don't, there's not a lot for them to do on this show. All right, let's move on very, very quickly. And let's start at the beginning because I just wanted to get that out the way. So AEW Dynamite, it aired from Cleveland, Ohio in the Wolstein Center, I'm sorry. They distributed 3,220 tickets. That is not great. I saw somebody actually bragging that AEW, their Dynamite finally surpassed Bound for Glory. And I was like, you do realize that TNT is pumping somewhere in the neighborhood of $150 to $200 million into AEW. And for you to brag that you're beating TNA, it's a joke. That's a joke. It all started because people saw how full the field house was for Bound for Glory, and it was like, oh, AEW should run smaller buildings, and AEW, man, looks pathetic, yada yada yada. And now they're like, look what we did. Like, bro, Dynamite used to do 2 to 3 times more than this. It's not very good, bro. It's not good. Now, Cleveland is not exactly the hottest town in the world either. And for the most part, the show was a dead crowd. I don't think the crowd cared very much for anything that they put on the screen. They tried hard, for some of the things that they did. But this was certainly a skeletal Dynamite, and some would call it a deadamite, which is what I'm going to call it. So let's start from the very beginning. There's orange ropes. Thumbs up. They had a little bit of a Halloween thing. Okay, I like that. If it wasn't for Excalibur wearing a mask literally every day, or at least every other week. I don't know if he wears it to the grocery store, but if it wasn't for that, you could have used some Halloween flair. People should have dressed up, you know. That's what they would do in WWE. They'd be wearing costumes and such. I think Mercedes and Chris Statlander were the only two people who dressed up for Halloween. And I guess Malachi Black, but every day is Halloween when you're Malachi Black, right? So let's get through this Moxley stuff. So Claudio says that they're not going to let these punks ruin what Moxley built. I was like, oh boy, he's a purse holder now. That's shameful. So Orange Cassidy says he's not a leader, but he watched his friend get his neck crushed, and he was surrounded by the future of AEW. These guys don't know that they're in danger. They don't know how dangerous Moxley is, but he does. He says Moxley never needed AEW, but Orange Cassidy needed AEW. He wouldn't be there without AEW. And I was like, oh my God, these Pledge of Allegiance speeches. And they did another one later. But this Pledge of Allegiance speech, I was like, oh, I'm so sick of these things. What is wrong with AEW that their talent constantly... See, there's a difference between confidence and self-esteem, right? When this comes from children. For starters, confidence comes through competence. What I mean by that is, if you're good at something, you feel good about it. If you're confident, that comes through competence. You're good at something, you attack it with all the flair and you know how to do things. Self-esteem comes from outside. It's somebody telling you how good you are. So AEW constantly needed that validation from the fans and from the dirt sheets and everybody telling them how good they were. And when that stopped, all of a sudden what you started seeing is affirmations. Them looking in the mirror, I love AEW. You're a great AEW. You know, just like people with low self-esteem do. They look in the mirror and they give themselves affirmations to pump themselves up, make themselves feel better. That's self-esteem, right? That doesn't work. It's fragile. It's just insecurity. Every time somebody goes out there and talk about how much they love AEW and how much AEW is helping the business and how much blah, 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 blah AEW, it just shows how pathetic and insecure your company is. And it's embarrassing. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it right now. Anyway, Orange Cassidy challenged Moxley for the AEW World title at Full Gear. Moxley came out later on and said that Orange Cassidy thinks that he challenged Moxley, but instead Moxley had challenged Orange Cassidy. He was the one who got rid of Orange Cassidy's dead weight so that he could focus on being world champion. He could focus on his future. So he doesn't want Orange Cassidy to be like everybody else around here with the illness. Doesn't want him to get fat and happy with his paychecks. And he says, when you fight me, we're going to not fight on the mountaintop. We're going to fight in that valley. And it's going to be a valley I'm willing to die in. And I'm like, whoa. Then he says that, you think you're pulling the strings. And he says, I'm pulling the strings. So then he has his goons grab Wheeler Yuta. And they're going to Pillmanize Yuta's neck. Orange Cassidy runs out there to save Wheeler Yuta. After they beat up Orange Cassidy, then Wheeler Yuta gets up. And it was all a ruse. He starts kicking and punching Orange Cassidy. And then all sorts of this menagerie of low-card jabronis starts coming into the ring, like the Dark Order and Private Party and a bunch of other guys. Daniel Garcia, they all just come out there. They just flood the ring with human bodies. And none of these people matter. It's just some guy got suplexed on the floor. I'm just like, who is that guy? There's another guy whose ribs are taped up. He got hit in the ribs. I'm like, who is that guy? Who are these people? And I'm pretty sure I've seen these people before, but they don't, the names and the faces and stuff don't connect in my brain because I'm like, who are these folks? Why are they involved in this? Get these people out of here. They're rubbish. This is garbage. Move these people to the side. These are people that you play King of the Mountain with. They slide in the ring, you punch him in the head, he takes a bump and goes outside the ring. He is not a guy that you get into some kind of prolonged brawl with. And I'm tired of them doing this. This is like the 6th week in a row. Stop it. is also a big stoppage. But the positive is that Darby Allin came from the ceiling because, he's Sting now. He's like Mega Man. He has absorbed Sting's powers and Sting's abilities. So now he comes from the ceiling. But they were being extra safe. And he was throwing punches and fighting while the thing was still connected to him. And this was the visual that they were trying to avoid when Owen Hart unfortunately fell from the ceiling. So Darby Allin just drops himself into the middle of the brawl, outside the ring, of course, and is still attached to the rope and everything. I'm like, oh my God. It took a while to get him unhitched, but eventually they did. The crowd was woke for Darby. Everybody was, in a big mood for Darby. So that was great. That was fine. So Moxley and his crew, they all cleared out. They all left. They left Private Party in the ring, so the Young Bucks decided to come out there and have their tag team championship match now. And they lost, which everybody knew they were going to lose. The match in and of itself just felt like it was going to go on forever. I'm not a big fan of the Young Bucks. Private Party are okay, but the Young Bucks, no, it went on forever. So they did, 2 spots where they wrote off each member of Private Party. They had Q hit Zay in the head with a ring bell. And then Zay did a very bad job of blading. And it wasn't much blood anyway. But it just left Q in the ring to fight by himself for a while. And then eventually Zay returned. They did some double team stuff. And then they took Q out by dragging him up the ramp and had Okada tombstone him on the ramp. And then he left him out there. And that left Zay by himself. And so he had to kick out all the big moves. And then they finally get back together. And they hit their finish on one of the Young Bucks. And they win. So I'm happy the Private Party finally won. It's probably 3 or 4 years too late for anybody to really care. But I'm glad it happened. The Young Bucks, of course, being a little bit glory houndy. And they decided they were going to hand Private Party the titles, which doesn't make sense because you're the heels. Then we go backstage, and the Private Party are doing something in their locker room. This is after Jack Perry gets hemmed up by Daniel Garcia. And he's trying to push past Daniel Garcia, but he's so tiny and effeminate that Daniel Garcia looks like the Hulk, choking him to death against the wall, telling him he's going to lose his title just like the Young Bucks lost their titles. I'm like, oh, this is not convincing. You're not a convincing champion, young Jack Perry. You're looking very vulnerable out there, brother. Anyway, he goes into the locker room. The Young Bucks are doing something weird. They claim they were shredding documents. I'm like, what documents? Why are they shredding documents? What are they doing? I don't know what they're doing. Anyway, they decided they're going to leave. So Christopher Daniels shows up. He's begging them to stay. Oh, we need you guys. Now we need you and you're going to walk away. And the Young Bucks said that nobody listened to them when they were trying to save AEW and trying to do what's best for this company. Now they're going to leave and work from home. And so they left. And, oh my God. Brandon Cutler was following them carrying a box of shoes. It's their shoes. And he does his comedy spot. He's like, oh man, they peeled off on him. And then here's Moxley and his gang. And they jump Christopher Daniels and Brandon Cutler. And then they smash Brandon Cutler's hand with a hammer. And Moxley's like, where are your boys? Where your boys at? Where your boys go? Where's your boys? And I'm like, oh God. Oh boy. So now he's picking a fight with the Young Bucks. Where's Okada? I didn't see Okada get in the car. Where'd Okada go? Why do we care? Do we care about Brandon Cutler? I don't care about Brandon Cutler. It's a similar situation to the Chuck Taylor thing. I don't really care about the guy you're pushing. I don't care about the Young Bucks here. And I don't really care about the guy you beat up. I don't have any emotional attachment to any of these people. So now I'm just kind of looking at it in terms of, does it add to the story? And the answer to that question is yes. because it shows that Moxley's disrespect even goes up to the Young Bucks, and he smells pussy in those guys, which he should. They're straight up Massengill. And next thing you know, we got to deal with this now, which is, probably going to be the Elite versus 3 members of Moxley's crew. And I guess so. It's a way of moving the Young Bucks away from the championships that they just lost, so there's not going to be a rematch. And they're probably just going to go towards the trios titles. And they've been doing this for like the past 3 or 4 years, ever since those trios belts were brought into fruition. The Young Bucks would win the tag team titles, and they lose them, then they go over to the trios division. And then they have trios titles for a while, then they lose them, they go back to the tag team division. That's kind of what they've been doing, bobbing and weaving between these 2 divisions for years now. So now their tag team run is over. They're going to go with Okada into the trios division, probably wrestle Claudio, Pac, and Yuta, and maybe even try to win those belts, maybe even win those belts, and do something else there. But their partner is more than likely going to end up being Okada in that situation, which ought to be something. I don't know if it'll be good or not. But they're furthering their Moxley storyline, which is positive. And I've said I was going to be more positive on whether they actually further the story rather than do I care about the characters. And I don't care about the characters. AEW has a big problem with that. Even if I like the story, which is, it's okay, I'm not thrilled about the characters that are involved. I feel like, the people that they're using are not the people that other folks are interested in, the people that want to see. It's the people Tony Khan likes. Tony Khan likes Wheeler Yuta and Orange Cassidy. And I know that at one point in time, the crowd liked Orange Cassidy. I'm not sure if people buy him as a main eventer, guys prepared to be the world champion. Darby fits. I guess Darby works. But most of these other guys, I'm not so sure. I'm not sure at all. But they insist. They're doing what they do. So I'll go for it and go for your thing. Match first. First match on the show. Buddy Matthews with all the muscles and the size in the world versus an emaciated Adam Cole. Guess who won this match? Did you think that the man with weirdly Vaseline colored skin won this match? Yes, he won. What color is Adam Cole's skin? It looks like a really bad tan, but it's not like Trump Hulk Hogan orange. It looks sickly. I don't know what that is. And he's very small. I mean, I've seen guys in Home Depot with more muscles. I've seen dudes that work in Bed Bath & Beyond with this sort of physiognomy. This is terrible. This guy does not look like a professional wrestler. He doesn't look like his job has anything to do with physicality whatsoever. He's built like a cosplayer, like a professional gamer. Like, this is all he does all day is play video games, which I guess is fine, but when you see this guy standing across the ring from Buddy Matthews, who has so many muscles he can barely breathe, you're like, holy shit, why is this guy the guy losing? And then the match that they did, I was like, I don't believe this. This is stupid. Okay, so let's go through it. They do a spot in which Adam Cole starts phoning up like he really hurt his foot. He's limping. He's hurting his foot, yada, yada, yada. During all this time, Buddy Matthews is kind of beating him up and bumping him around and everything. And then they do the spot where Adam Cole leaves. He's getting help from some officials, and he's going to quit the match and walk away. Buddy Matthews, who is literally hulking. I mean, he's like a Dragon Ball character or something like that. I mean, he's just massive. He's got pecs all on his chin and everything. And all of a sudden, he's like, "You're a bitch." I'm like, whoa, okay. Well, that's a compliment. He's shaped like a teenage boy, but calling him a bitch, I guess, okay. So he's going to finish the match now. So Adam Cole limps his way back to the ring. They continue working the match. there's a bunch of super kicks and Canadian destroyers, and then a knee strike to the head, and big, gigantic, muscular Buddy Matthews lost to strawweight Adam Cole. I just, it was laughable, bro. Nobody in their right mind would have booked this match this way. I mean, he looks like when you get the big head thing on like NBA Jam or something. You know, wasn't it NBA Jam where you get the characters with the big head, or GoldenEye, where you can get the big head characters? That's what Adam Cole is running around here, like the big head characters on the GoldenEye. Like, this guy sucks. Physically, he's trash. And it seems like he's going to pull the old Shawn Michaels. Because Shawn Michaels, you know, when he came back, he was like, "Ah, my back." Every match was, "Ah, my back." He did it for 10 years. "Oh, my back. Oh, my back." I guess Adam Cole's whole thing is going to be, "Oh, my ankle. Oh, my ankle," for 10 years. Oh, my Lord. Oh, boy. I don't care. Look, after the match, Adam Cole appreciated Buddy Matthews, thanked him, shook his hand. Lights goes out. Lights come back on. Here's Malachi Black. So Malachi Black then shook the hand of Adam Cole. And they set this match for next week. And I said, man, there was a time when I would have saw Malachi Black versus Adam Cole and would have been like, hell yeah, I'm locked in. November 2024 is not that time. Malachi Black, I don't know when the last time he had a singles match on TV. I'm not even going to pretend. I'm not even going to look. I don't care anyway. It's been a long time. It's been over 2 months. It's probably been over a year at this point. And Adam Cole, again, looks emaciated. Looks Somalian out there, all right? He's the strawweight champion. It's unreal that they're going to book Malachi Black versus this guy and for him to put Malachi Black to put him over. But it's fine, I guess. I don't know. Maybe Malachi Black is like, look, I'll do this if you let me out this contract. Whatever it to take me, get me out of this contract. Big fan of Malachi Black. Not a big fan of him losing to Adam Cole, but whatever. And nothing you could do. I'm kind of over it now. Both of these guys are like in their, I think Adam Cole is in his early 30s. And Malachi Black is in his late 30s, probably in his 40s by now. And it's just, I guess you ain't going nowhere. So it is what it is. So they go back to the training room where Adam Cole is going to cut another promo on MJF. And he's really trying to sell everybody that he knew MJF was going to turn on him. That's why he turned on MJF first. Then he pledged his allegiance to AEW by saying, "Oh, maybe what we did was extreme, but we care about AEW. We love AEW. We knew that you weren't a team player, Max." And I'm like, oh my God. Stop it. Stop telling me how much you love AEW, how much you appreciate the company, blah, blah, blah. Stop. Stop doing that. Who are you trying to impress? Who are you trying to prove yourself to? Stop it. This was a stupid promo. He got very animated, but it was a dumb promo. Then Kyle Fletcher came out there, big Desmond Wolf energy. I don't know what he's trying to do. He ended up talking to his tag team partner, the other guy. He looks like a bum. I mean, did you see the neck on that guy's t-shirt? I mean, it looked like he literally got woke up and dragged to this show and said, "Hey, you got a promo tonight." And he didn't bother to shave, shower, or even thoroughly wake up. He just woke up and got dragged, got pushed out there. He just came straight from Moe's and they just pushed him out there. And I don't even care what they were talking about. It had something to do with Will Ospreay. I don't care. Let's move on. There was a Hangman Page promo where he talked about Jay White. Who cares? Let's move on. I'm not going to waste too much time on that one either. Same for Jamie Hayter and Penelope Ford. I mean, who gives a shit? Chris Jericho came out there. He bragged about Dave Meltzer giving his ladder match 4 stars. Then said he's going to take ROH to places it's never been before. And I'm thinking, are we supposed to forget that he was champion in Ring of Honor like a year or two ago and it went nowhere and it meant nothing? But this is kind of supposed to be like some kind of foreshadowing that Ring of Honor might have a television deal now. Well, wake me up when they actually have it. Jericho's washed. Let's move on. They did an Anna Jay vignette. Who cares? Move on. Camille versus Chris Statlander. I actually watched this match because I was very interested in this match. And it was okay. It wasn't terrible. Unfortunately, Camille lost, and she lost clean to a tombstone power driver. Camille was the one who actually had the tombstone on Chris Statlander. Then Statlander countered it, tombstone, and that was it. Statlander was attacked by Mercedes after the match, who then yelled at Camille to go to the back. I'm like, ooh, didn't like that. I don't like your tone of voice. Didn't like your tone of voice at all. And then all of a sudden, she says if she wants something done, you got to do it herself. Because earlier tonight, she said she wanted Chris Statlander destroyed. Annihilated, I think was the appropriate word she used. So we're going to go with Mercedes and Chris Statlander in terms of the match at the pay-per-view, I would imagine. That's fine. I love Chris Statlander. I'm a big fan. Problem, why did Camille have to lose? Why couldn't you got so many other women on the roster. You got your Taya Valkyries and your Deonna Purrazzos and all these bras that you don't use. Serena Deeb. You could have had Chris Statlander beat all these chicks on TV and then wrestle Mercedes. Why did you have to beat Camille? Okay, so here's where we at. Camille is done. All right. Camille is cooked. She's in the Taya Valkyrie, Deonna Purrazzo. Yeah, they brought her in, talked about her, built her up a little bit, and now she's dead. All right, it's over. It's over. It's done for. Because now you've got the Women's World Championship on Collision, and I know you think that what do these two things have in common? They have a knack for bringing people in, especially women, but they do it to the men too, because again, it's Claudio, Ricochet, who's not on this show, not featured on this show, not even talked about on this show. They bring them in, they give them a win, 2 wins, maybe 3. Camille got 5, and then they beat you, and then you go to the B shows, and then you're just on the B shows from that point forward. That's where Camille is now. Oh, she's going to be the female Lance Archer. That's going to be her role. This is what I fear for Bobby Lashley. Now, there's nothing wrong with losing to Chris Statlander, except the fact that Chris Statlander almost never is featured on this television show, let alone wins on this show. If she was a regularly featured character, that would be great, but she's not really. If this gets her to be more regularly featured, then good. But Camille losing clean in the middle of the ring without a complaint, because they don't know how to protect people in AEW. She's going to end up being a female Wardlow. And that's unfortunate because Camille has something where she can be a star in this division. And they just have to let it go and let it be. But, losing to Chris Statlander and probably end up losing to Willow and people of that stature, she's never going to get anywhere in this company. Because it's exactly what happened to Deonna Purrazzo, Serena Deeb, Taya Valkyrie, and so many of Saraya, Toni Storm for a while before she found her timeless gimmick. What's that other one? The one with the big nose. Ruby Soho, that girl. It happens to all of them. They come in, get a big push at the beginning. Soon as they lose, you don't just go to the back of the line, you fall off a cliff. It won't be long before she's on Rampage struggling. Okay? So this is highly unfortunate. And I fully expect Bobby Lashley's run in AEW to be similar to what happened to Camille. He's going to get a nice little push at the top from the beginning, and then it's going to be over. But I am looking forward to Statlander versus Mercedes. That ought to be fun, at least. Putting Mercedes in there with somebody who actually has some experience and can actually do some stuff ought to be very nice. So that was AEW Dynamite, Fright Night Dynamite. I was certainly frightened. I was frightened that I was going to fall asleep in the middle of the show, and I almost did. That Young Bucks match almost took me clean on out, bro. It had me goozled. But, my hand went up once. Hand went up twice. Yeah. When it came down that third time, I had to power through. And something tells me I probably shouldn't have. But let me know what you guys think, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.
No one does it better.